Hi folks, I'm engaging in a little bit of an experiment. I'm checking on the elevation data on my various devices. It's not something I've been bothering about much lately. Anyone who uses Strava will know that once you've uploaded a ride, if there's anything a little bit iffy about the elevation gain or loss of the route you've done, there is a tool on Strava by which you can correct the elevation. So anyway, it's come to my attention that the Karoo 2 that I have been using can be a bit erratic when it comes to recording elevation gain and loss. I've seen mention of it on a few forums on the internet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot a course, a fixed route, just a short local route with a few hills thrown in. I'm going to bring 3 devices with me. I'm going to bring my old Edge 705, which I have here. It's pretty old. The buttons have actually fallen out of it from wear. I don't know how long I have that, but I'm going to have that in my back pocket. I'm going to record the route on that. I'm going to record the route on my Karoo 2. That's the present one I'm using. I had the Edge 810, which was behaving okay, but due to failing eyesight I needed something with a bigger display, so I got this. Anyway, I'll be recording the route. That'll be mounted on the bike, and then in another pocket I'm going to have my Garmin Edge 810. So the idea is to record the route on all 3 devices, and at the end then just compare the elevation gain or loss or total elevation, whatever. And what I'm going to do as well, say 3 hills on the route, and at the top of each hill I'll stop and I'll have a look and check what the current elevation is on each device, just for comparison. Then when I get home I'll upload the route from each device separately, and I'll have a look and see what the total elevation is for each given device, just to compare all 3. Then I'll use the elevation correction tool on Strava. Now, just to complicate things more, I'm going to do it on another site as well, on Ride with GPS, which has the same elevation tool. So I'm going to do that anyway and compare all the numbers and give the result at the end. That's the plan anyway. And the first thing I want to do, and what I have done, is to calibrate the elevation on each device. So the starting elevation for each device at my home place here, according to the Karoo, it's 112 meters. According to the Garmin here, it's 114 meters, and according to the older Garmin, it's 111 meters, so not too much of a variation there. Just to complicate things a little bit further, before I do the actual route, I've plotted it on the route creator tool on 3 different websites. This one here is the Hammerhead route creator. So the route I've picked is 28.5 kilometers, and it's giving me a total elevation gain of 281 meters. Now the second site is Strava. I have created the exact same route. This is giving me 28.44 kilometers, near enough, but it's giving me an elevation gain of 298 meters. So that's, let's see, that's 17 meters of a difference between that and the Hammerhead. And then if I go to Ride with GPS, once again, exact same route, exact same hills, 28.5 kilometers, distance is the same, and it's giving me elevation gain of 280 meters, which is more or less agreeing with the Hammerhead site, but the Strava one is out. Anyway, the idea is I know what my total elevation should be according to this, and I'm presuming all these sites get their elevation from the map data. So when I come home from my spin, at least one of them, surely the recorded elevation should, in theory, agree with the map elevation data. We shall have to see. Now for my favourite part of this little test, actually going out on the bike. So I'm just checking here. I have the 3 devices here and they're still roughly at the same starting elevation. 115, 105 and 113. So not too much of a variance there. Mount the Karoo on the bike and the other 2 devices, then I'm going to start them all simultaneously and I'm going to head off and we'll see how we get on. Now I'm just getting near the top of the hill at the back of the Heath Church. So when I get to the top, I'm going to stop and I'm going to look at the current elevation on all 3 devices just to compare. Now, my Karoo is telling me my current elevation is 135 meters at the top of this hill. So we'll just check the other one here now. This is the really old Garmin, and that's giving me an elevation of 137 meters, so not too far out. I'll check the other one and let's see, it's giving me an elevation of 132 meters, so no great difference really between them all. 132 on the Edge 810 and 135 on the Karoo. So I'll go on another bit down the bottom of this hill and then I'm going up to the Rock of Dunamace, so we'll see what it's at the top there. Now I have the Rock of Dunamace in my sights, so when I get to the top of this I'll take 3 more readings and see how we're going. Now I've just come up to the Rock of Dunamace here. This time the Karoo is giving me an elevation of 164 meters. The old Garmin, the oldest one, the 705, is spot on at 164 meters. So they're in agreement. And the other one, if I can get it out of the pocket, the Edge 810, if I can get the screen, is giving me 161 meters, so very little difference, 3 meters. So off we go again, next hill. Now I've just come to the top of Dysart Hill, and the Karoo is giving me an elevation of 179 meters. The old Garmin is giving me an elevation of 178 meters, so only a meter of a difference there. And the Garmin Edge 810, if I can get onto the screen, that's giving me an elevation of 176 meters. So again, no big difference. Right, down now into Rathneska, then I'm going to swing back towards home, and the last hill will be the Chicken Burn Hill, and I'll take my last readings there. Actually, what I can do when I get home, I read out the 3 different numbers at the top of each of those little hills. So when I get home, I can drop a pin on the map at each of those points and get what should be the correct elevation data from the map data, just for further comparison. I should have a lot of numbers to work with when I'm finished. Now I'm just starting over the southern edge of Killowen Hill, or the Chicken Burn Hill. So at the top of that I'll take my readings again, Then it's downhill across the heath and home. And the experiment concluded. Well, this part of it anyway. Now, I'm just at the top of the Chicken Burn Hill. The Karoo is telling me 141 metres. And the Edge is giving me 141 metres. Now the old Garmin is giving me 110 metres. So a bit of a difference there. Back home now and ready to pour over all the data from the 3 different devices. Just turn off each one now in turn. So that's 28.65 kilometers. 28.9 on the old Garmin, and I notice the elevation is out on this now. It's 88. It should be 111 here at home or thereabouts, so we'll stop that one. The Edge 810, so this is giving me 29 kilometers, so there's a slight discrepancy in the distance, but it's only about 100 meters. So now we'll see what the elevation is going to be after all of that. And it's into the computer. Well, I have all my figures in front of me now. So if we start with the projected elevation, which is the elevation I was given when I plotted the routes. On Strava it was projecting 298 meters. On the Hammerhead and RWGPS, right with GPS, it was 281 and 280 respectively, so nearly the same there. Now I googled it, and I googled what is the best and most accurate platform for plotting a route with regard to elevation and all the other parameters. So the answer I got was right with GPS, so that's the one I'm going to go with, the 280 meters. It also agrees with the Hammerhead route projection. So anyway, then we go on to the recorded elevation gain. Now the Edge 705, the oldest of my devices, gave an overall total of 162 meters, which was way out. Now that had been fine on the little spot checks as I went along until the last hill, the Chicken Burn Hill, where it was way out. It just lost the plot. The Edge 810 had a total of 283 meters, which was close to the 280 meters, which I'm taking as the projected elevation. The Karoo 2, 355 meters, again way out, and I heard reports that that was the case with the Karoo 2. Now there are various things that can affect that. The devices go according to barometric pressure. Now the barometric sensors can become clogged, or in my case I had 2 of the devices in my pockets. Now the sensors may not have liked that, but they seem to behave okay along the way on the spot checks. So anyway, according to the recorded elevation, the Edge 810, the Garmin Edge 810, was the best at 283 meters. Now I also googled somewhere that I think it was Garmin, they claimed a margin of error of plus or minus 10 meters for elevation. Now that's okay at a particular point, but if you have that margin of error all along a route, now I only did 28 kilometers, but say you were doing 100 kilometers and you have that plus or minus 10 margin of error, your elevation could be way out at the end of it. However, for the short route I did, the Edge 810 was the closest to the projected elevation. Now we come to the corrected elevation. Strava has an elevation correction tool. Now, when I corrected the Edge 705, which was totally wrong at 162 meters, the corrected elevation was 271. Then the Edge 810 at 283 meters, it corrected that by 1 meter to 282. And the Karoo 2, 355 meters way out, it brought down to 294. But here's the thing, if the elevation correction tool is working properly, should it not return the same corrected elevation for that particular route for all the devices? You'd imagine so. Or should it not at least give you the figure that Strava's route creation tool had projected for that route, which was 280. No, sorry, 298 Strava was. Or WGPS was 280. It's easy to get mixed up with the numbers. So anyway, I uploaded all three routes then to Ride with GPS. And here's the funny thing now. They actually uploaded with different elevations than they did to Strava, so I don't know what's going on there. Apparently each different platform has its own digital elevation model, or DEM, and they can have smoothing of elevation going on. So really they're only second guessing the device. So while I started off with the question, is your device lying to you? I ended up with more questions. When you upload your route and do your elevation correction, is the platform you're using lying to you? So how do you know exactly what elevation gain you have, what you have actually climbed? I think just going back to what Google told me was that Ride with GPS was deemed to be the most accurate with regard to route creation and elevation projection. So for the purposes of this route, I'm going to take the Ride with GPS projection of 280 meters as what I actually climbed. But when you're posting on Strava, you're getting a different figure. It's showing you've climbed more, or in some cases less. So more questions than answers. Anyway, I suppose another test I could do in future is just do one big climb compared to all these small hills. I could do, say, the cut in the Sleeve Blue Mountains. I could start at the bottom where I would know the elevation at the start point, climb to the top, I think it's 7 or 8 kilometers, and I'd know the elevation at the top. Simple subtraction would give me the elevation gain, and then I could compare the device's result to that. So that's something I might do in the future. But again, as I said, then when you go and upload your trip to whatever platform you use, Ride with GPS, Strava, whatever, you know, you could get a different result again. And then when you use their elevation correction tool, so I don't know. Anyway, for my little test, of my 3 devices, the newest one, the Karoo, is incorrect with the elevation, but at least I can see it when I'm cycling. The Edge 810, which I discarded just because the display was a little bit too small for the peepers, that seemed to be the most accurate on this test anyway. And the poor old Karoo, or sorry, the poor old Edge 705, with its buttons falling out and everything, even though it's still working, well, that's for the boneyard. Anyway, I'd be interested in hearing anything in comments from any others of you who have done any tests like this, or who have noticed discrepancies in what you think you've climbed and then what Strava or whatever platform you use has told you you've climbed. Anyway, that's it, and like I said, more questions than answers. Thanks for watching.